IT, I request you, cancel the recording for a while till our next panelist to join. So you can stop the recording. So dear participants, good evening everyone. I welcome you to this 10-day and final day of our research methodology workshop on research analytics in social sciences. Over the past sessions, we have explored the intricate world of research, which we have discussed from theoretical framework to empirical analysis. And today, as we conclude, we reflect on the significance of research methodology in shaping impactful studies. As we engage in this panel discussion, which we have arranged for you today, let us remember that research is not just gathering data. It is about asking the right questions, interpreting findings critically, and contributing to the knowledge that can drive meaningful change. I invite our esteemed panelists to share their insights on the evolving landscape of research analytics in social sciences and how methodological rigor can elevate the quality and credibility of research. So before beginning, let me give formal introduction of our panelists for today. We have with us Dr. Ram Pratap Sinha. He is currently working as Associate Professor of Economics at Government College of Engineering and Leather Technology, Kolkata. He has more than 35 years of teaching experience at the UG and PG level. He has written 121 journal articles, 22 book chapters and 2 books. He has supervised several PhD and MPhil theses and completed 4 research projects. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
We are having with us my mentor, Professor Dr. D.K. Yadav. He is currently professor at Department of Economics, Baba Sahib Bhimrao Ambedkar University, Lucknow. He holds PhD in Money Banking and Financial Institutions from Allahabad University. With 15 years of teaching experience, he specializes in econometric theory, monetary economics, and public finance. He is member of Indian Political Economic Association and the Indian Econometric Association. He has published extensively in journals like Springer, Elsewhere, and other Scopus Index journals, and supervised numerous PhD and MPhil students. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
So before we start our panel discussion, as we will be, discussing some critical research questions today. So let us, start with one of the best quotes. The beautiful thing about learning is that no one can take it away from you. This quote has been written by B.B. King. So research is to see what everybody else has not seen, to think what nobody else has thought. Albert. So let me directly, share my first question about basic of research in social sciences. I would like to, address Professor Ram to, you know, share some light on this question. What are the key components of a good research paper? How can a researcher effectively define and refine a research problem? Over to you, sir.
Thank you for the question. To the best of my understanding, a research, good research paper or say good research endeavor that requires several desirable attributes. To begin with, we require to properly identify the research gaps. Otherwise, there is no point in repeating what everybody has done. This is number one. Obviously, this requires, what I mean to say is that this presupposes that you have made an extensive literature review. I will take up that issue at a later stage. Then, you also need to be spot on regarding research questions.
So, sorry to sorry for inconvenience, sir. Sir, can you put your screen nearby because your figure is image is disappearing while speaking.
Oh, okay. Now, is it better?
Yes, sir. It is better, sir.
Huh.
Please go ahead, sir.
Huh. Now, so second important requirement is obviously a good. You have to be spot on regarding setting research questions. In good journals, they also ask or they also expect that the researchers be very clear about research questions, and they can be written separately after the basic introduction. Then methodology has to be properly adopted. Because, if you want to analyze something, whether you are using, a conceptual model, or you are going for an empirical study, you need to, use a sound methodology to carry out your work. And obviously, it also requires good presentation, lucid presentation. And obviously, you need to, in the conclusion, you need to, at least in the conclusion, you need to compare with earlier studies, how your study is different from the prior studies. And lastly, for a good research paper, you require a good list of references. So these are the bare minimum requirements for a good paper.
Thank you very much, sir. So now let us move to Professor D.K. Yadav. We will try to understand what is the importance of formulating hypotheses in social science research. What are the challenges researchers are facing in formulating hypotheses properly? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Firdous. First of all, I'll uh, pay my sincere thanks to the organizer as well as to Dr. Firdous for inviting me in this discussion that is on very relevant issue, relevant topic. Regarding the question which you have raised, this importance of formulating hypothesis in social science research. Actually, until unless we are not able to formulate our hypothesis, will not able to analyze the issues, the concern in which we are interested. Actually, hypothesis provide us a direction, because for any problem there are several possibilities, several reasons may be there for any particular problem. But as a researcher, how will deal with the issues in which we are interested? Naturally, we need some kind of assumption, some kind of hypothesis, and we try to work on it. We try to analyze whether this particular hypothesis is behind the problem or not. But the question is how we formulate the hypothesis. That's the biggest problem which researcher face. How we should formulate our hypothesis. And I think most of the participants who are attending the program are from economics background, even from related fields of economics, and they may are well aware to this econometric techniques. And in econometric methodology, we know that the first step of econometric research is statement of theory. So by understanding the theories related to issues in which we are interested, we can formulate our hypothesis. Actually, theories provide us the guidance, the direction through which we can assume something related to our problem. Because if you are not relying on theory and you are assuming anything which is coming in your mind or someone is telling you, then I think this is not a good idea, because until unless you could not link your research to the existing stock of knowledge, it is not going to accepted by the peer groups, even in good research journals. So I think the theories, existing stock of theories, provide us a lot of help in direction of formulating our hypothesis. And if we have formulated a good hypothesis, I think your 50% task is over, because in next step we are going to test our hypothesis using the data, using the evidences which we have collected through our survey or through secondary data, whatever information you have. So I think that in the formulation of hypothesis in social science, the existing stock of theories helps a lot. And if you could formulate a good hypothesis, it is going helps a lot to your analysis, and even it help us to decide our the model, econometric model, which actually substantiate to our conclusion whether our conclusion related to our hypothesis is correct or not. This is what I think for those in this particular issue related to this particular. Thank you. Hello.
Well, yes, sir. We
Am I
were,
audible?
yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, this is what I think. I think I have discussed what is my opinion related to this particular question.
Yeah, thank you very much for your reply, sir. Actually, this question, why we have kept this question for the discussion is, it has been observed that researchers, whether at policy level or at beginners or experienced, they are going with perception. But research doesn't, allow us to go with perception. Therefore, we have to, follow the properly scientific enquiry for the research. Now, moving ahead, before moving to second session of the questions, I would like to quote Benjamin Franklin. He said, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest." So, as you have invested in this workshop, I hope that it will give you best result. And one more quotation I want to share, W. Edwards. He rightly said, "Without data, you are just another person with an opinion." So it is quite relevant to the last question, formulating the hypothesis and following the research ethics. So let us move to the next section of our questions today, which will be discussing about developing research questions and literature review. I would like to address Professor Ram. How can researchers critically evaluate existing literature, and how can researchers identify gaps in existing literature? Over to you, sir.
This is a very relevant question. Nowadays, what is happening, I can tell the researchers that people are, the researchers are taking the help of, because literature, existing literature or extant literature is growing very fast. So in order to gather proper knowledge, it is essential to make a take help of bibliometric studies or systematic literature reviews. In addition to that, one should widen one's knowledge base by reading related books and journal articles. So these are books will be very helpful at at the beginning stage, and books continue to help in future studies also, because there is no substitute of books, but that has to be supplemented by the use of journal articles. Now, in this context, while Scopus and Web of Science, these are very important databases, researchers are nowadays taking the help of several bibliometric softwares. So these include VOS Viewer, Then in R package, you have one package or one code that is known as bibliometrics. There is a counterpart which is web-based of bibliometrics. It is known as BiblioShiny. So somebody not using R can take help of BiblioShiny. And then there is another which is also very popular, that is SiteSpace. Since I am a reviewer for many journal groups, including Springer, Elsevier, then Emerald, then MDPI. Except Wiley, I have reviewed different journal articles for all the leading journal houses, and I have to regularly, in every month, I have to review 3-4 articles. Now, what I have seen is that the emergence of SLR studies, their proportion is continuously rising, and many are doing simply SLR studies where they are trying to identify different dimensions where extent studies have considering, and what are the gaps. So they will be, if there are if you can study the proper SLR papers, obviously it will give you fresh insight about how things are going on and what are the gaps. And your objective will be to fill up the gaps. So you have to set research questions accordingly. And if you closely look at how research questions were framed with regard to the extant literature, how they have done, so that will give you a good understanding as to how you will have to do it. Because there is no shortcut method or concrete method that I can suggest, because each topic is different and there are different disciplines. It is not essential that a person has to do research in the field of economics or econometrics only. So accordingly, one has to devise his or her strategy. This much I can say.
Thank you very much, sir. As you have rightly said that there is no shortcut. We have to follow literature thoroughly and try to examine what are the research gaps. Now moving to our next question, and I want to address again Dr. Yadav. How should researchers interpret and report statistical findings in social science research?
Dr. Firdous. Yeah, I think this is a very relevant question in present context. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think nowadays, since several softwares are available and people are using it in very large scale, and what people are doing, they are collecting the data and putting the data in software and getting the results. That's a very easy. Within second, you can get the results of any particular model. But the limitation is that they are not able to interpret the results. The results which they are getting through different softwares, they are not able to interpret the results. I think there is a two important issues which researchers need to understand. That see, until unless you will not understand the techniques, models theoretically, which you are using for your analysis, you will not able to interpret the results. Softwares are available. You can get the results easily through help of softwares. But for interpreting the results, you have to understand the techniques theoretically, because every values which you are getting through results, there is a very strong theory behind that results, and as well as you have to link your results with the existing literature, existing stock of knowledge. When you, as Professor Ram has already discussed. Hello?
Those who are making any kind of noise, this is last warning, we will have to remove you. Please do not unmute yourself and do not disturb the flow. Sir, please continue.
Yeah. So what I think you have to link your results with the existing stock of knowledge. When you interpret your result in context of existing literature, it gets weightage. What I observed is recent days, people are presenting results of several models, but they are not able to interpret. They are not able to link their results with the existing stock of knowledge. So I think interpretation of the model, the result of the model is very important. And for that, what people have to do, they have to understand the techniques, and they have to understand the methods theoretically, and then only they will able to interpret the results of the statistical model. And see why it is important. I feel this field of social science is very challenging in comparison to the science discipline. In the science discipline, the characteristic which science people are dealing, that is very much that is very much deterministic in nature. But the social science characteristic is very much stochastic, and it is changing very rapidly. So how you are going to interpret your result, that is very important. And for that purpose, getting result is easy, but interpretation of result is very difficult. And for that purpose, I once again suggest to the researcher that you have to understand the techniques theoretically, their meaning, how the techniques were derived, what is the meaning of results which you are getting, and you have to link it with the existing stock of knowledge. Then only you could interpret the results of the statistical model. This is what I'd like to suggest to the researcher.
Thank you very much, sir. By adding these,
Pratap.
beautiful insights that how researchers should interpret and report statistical findings. Let me quote Neil Alam Sitran. He is saying something about research, that research is creating new knowledge. So our research should contribute something to the scientific world. So let me, quote also Noam Chomsky. He said, methodology is the highway that leads from ignorance to knowledge. So, how to interpret statistical findings in social sciences? You have to come out of ignorance towards knowledge, and you should be with a state of mind that your paper or your study is contributing something to the knowledge. So, moving to next question, next session of our questions, where we are going to deal about data types and collection. So I would like to address Professor Ram again, that what are the best practices for designing research surveys and questionnaires? How can researchers ensure ethical data collection? Over to you, sir. Sir, your mic is mute, Professor Ram.
Now I think I am audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Now, let me admit frankly that throughout my life, I have mostly worked on secondary data, but as an editor of a UGC Care journal and also as a reviewer of different journals, whether they are Scopus indexed or not, I can give you some ideas about how to select samples. Now, I'll speak on this secondary data first, and that will be followed by primary data cases. Now, coming to secondary data, first of all, I have researched extensively on the financial sector in the Indian context. Now, the problem with us in India is that we have lesser quantity of data and lesser variety of data. That has to be admitted in the beginning. And given this handicap, we have to do the best that we can, given our limitation. For example, in US or in Europe, they have databases which can easily be availed by researchers, which is the counterpart is not available in India. Although we have prowess or capital line, but accessible to not accessible by most of the researchers. This is the ground reality in India. Now, given this, there is a tendency to undertake research in the field wherever free data are available. This we need to admit, first of all. Second issue is that in India, there are very few, let us take the case of financial institutions. In India, we have, take the case of insurance sector, where I have written several papers and completed research projects also. Now, how many insurance companies are there? At best 24, 25, whether it is in life insurance sector or in general insurance sector. Compared to this, in Europe, there are at least 450 insurance companies. Whenever you try to submit your paper in a Q1 journal or Q2 journal, they expect similar things from you. They may not understand in many cases that your ground reality is different. That is a handicap. But given this, you have to take a long period data and as much sample as you can collect, first of all. Now, I have also seen from my experience that if you can use a balanced panel for econometric analysis, that will give you a better result. And if there is sample size is small, that may not, in many cases, give you good results or might give you misleading results. Although we, in many cases, take the help of bootstrap analysis, but even with bootstrap analysis, there are limitations because whenever you are making a random sampling, you are basically dealing with the same data. So from that, you are collecting different samples. And obviously, that is not a substitute for a big set of data or big data. So this is one issue with regard to secondary data. Now coming to the primary data segment, let me tell you very frankly, I often get articles which are based on, purposive sampling, because the researcher wants a shortcut and is considering the data for a particular city. I just give you one experience of mine. I am editing International Journal of Banking, Risk and Insurance since 2013. Now, I have seen numerous papers, numerous studies on a particular city of Tamil Nadu, that is Sivagasi. I sometimes wonder how many papers can be written with nearly, I mean, more or less the same topic, and again with regard to the Sivkasi district only. So if you try to design research studies in that way, obviously you may be able to publish in a relatively low quality journal, but it is not possible to publish the paper in a good journal. That is to be, this is a hard fact that has to be understood by everyone. And I have in my lifetime seen so many researchers in India who are from the very beginning interested in shortcuts. Whatever they can get it done by others. And secondly, I mean, even when data are available, they are trying to take as little data as possible. So that and obviously purposive sampling has a lot of dangers. Okay, so you try to get balanced panels, and obviously your sample size has to cross a minimum threshold, and there is no hard and fast rule because it depends on the topic concerned. Obviously, in case of high frequency data like stock market or mutual fund, so you require your data requirement is much more. But even with financial institutions, let me add very frankly that it is very difficult for us to compare with international studies because of two reasons. We do not have access to Compustat or Bankscope. And secondly, we have very few number of financial institutions. And similar instances are available in other contexts also. So this is what I can tell you from my past experiences, both as a reviewer or a teacher and researcher.
Thank you very much, sir. Now let us move to next question, and we'll try to address by Dr. D.K. Yadav, sir. Sir, I want to ask, how does one handle missing or incomplete data during data collection or analysis?
Yeah, I think that see nowadays there are several techniques available for handling the missing or incomplete data, like extrapolation, interpolation kind of techniques, statistical techniques are there which we can use. But what I personally feel, see, when we collect the information from field, then information have the data have a lot of information behind that. And if we are generating the data through the model, then we cannot compare it with the real data, the data which we have collected from the field. And I think this is a very big problem. Now what people are doing, they are playing with the data, but they could not understand the information which is which is behind the data. They could not realize they could not feel the data. And that's why the last question which you have raised, they are not able to interpret the data. That's the biggest reason. So my suggestion will be to all the researcher that if there is due to any region, there may be several reasons why you could not complete your data. There is a data incomplete data or data missing data is there, but you should try to collect as much as possible through field survey. If suppose you have designed your sampling method, you have reached to your target respondent, but due to certain reason you could not collect the information from your respondent. So don't leave it. You try next time and try to collect the information from your target respondent. And I think the information which you are collecting from the field, uh, that have a lot of information is hidden, and you have to explore those hidden information that could not be compared with the data which is generated through different models, different statistical techniques. I also agree with Professor Ram that availability of data is a very big problem in India, and the biggest reason behind that is that as a researcher, I think that we researchers are not doing sufficient in this direction. I think many times we realize the characteristic which in which we are interested, we do not have data through Indian sources, but it is available in other sources. Means the international institutions are providing data on those characteristics. How they are able to do, I think uh, uh, they are generating these data through different models, and these models are based on through well structured questionnaire and sample method which they are collecting from India through different sampling method. uh, I think as a researcher, we should be honest and we should collect the data from the field, and we should try again and again for missing data to fill the data. And if we are this handling the missing data through different softwares, I think this is not sufficient. But if we do not have any other option, then naturally we'll move to the statistical method for filling the missing data, incomplete data. But we should try to uh, we should try to uh, 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 collect the information from the field again and again. There may be several reasons why that you could not collect the data from the field, but you should try. You should your effort. There should be sufficient effort to collect the data from the field. Once again, I will repeat, it's not comparable. Anyhow, it's not comparable. The data which you are collected from the field and the data you are generating through the model, that's not comparable. Nowadays, you see there is a lot of policy failure, and I think that the biggest reason behind the policy failure is we do not have the real data. We do not have the genuine data. And if we are making policies on the basis of wrong data, which is not representing to the field, then naturally there will be policy failure, the policy paralysis kind of things will be there. So I think as a researcher, we all should try to collect the data from the field as much as possible. Thank you, Firdous.
Thank you very much, sir. Before moving to next, session of the questions, let me quote Churchill. Churchill once said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." So, therefore, data collection is one of the biggest tasks, and there are issues. So, you do not have to, stop. Now, let me, quote Albert Einstein. What he is saying to make the session more interesting for us. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. So therefore you should be hard worker as well as passionate to be alive in research. Now let us move to next session where we are going to discuss about advanced topics regarding research analytics. I want to address Professor Ram. What are the latest trends in social science research analytics? Over to you, sir.
Uh, uh, Since I belong to the field of economics and management, but I have done mostly research in the field in interface of economics and management, and mostly applied mathematical programming techniques and econometric techniques. Let me tell you. Insofar as economics domain is concerned, there are um, two competing paradigms or two competing approaches for understanding the relationship between different variables and interpretation of the same. One needs to use statistical or econometric techniques, and these are nowadays being extended by the use of machine learning. On the other hand, in case of machine learning, mostly people are using supervised learning, because unsupervised learning is something that is mostly used by computer science and IT people. So this is the trend, and with regard to research also, there is a basic difference when we most use um, techniques which are having background in econometrics. We are focusing on regression, whereas in machine learning there is another overriding objective, that is classification. And you have to understand that in many cases classification has um, important real life applications. For example, suppose you decide to screen the prospective borrowers from a bank, and by applying machine learning techniques, and you can supplement this with other techniques, so you can basically classify the prospective borrowers in less risky groups and more risky groups, so that you grant uh, loans to one set of people and you deny loans to the other set of people. And even within the people whose loan applications may be considered, you try to identify some clusters and based on the risk profile. And here, obviously, you can charge differential rates for different classes of loans. Again, this classification is greatly aided through machine learning. And obviously, many such jobs are now automated through the application of artificial intelligence. So, in case of supervised learning, computer and artificial intelligence, they can automate things to a great extent. Uh, and with regard to performance evaluation, obviously both econometric and mathematical programming approaches are there, but mathematical programming approaches dominate over the statistical approach because they can handle multiple outputs. And let me tell you that apart from mere estimation of efficiency or productivity, these methods are nowadays increasingly used for practical application for say in regulation, especially setting performance standards lower on upper ceilings. Then you can also apply it to a great extent in screening of loans. I just give you one example. So these are the common trends, and people are also trying to justify or validate their model through the increasing use of Monte Carlo simulation and Markov chain Monte Carlo simulation. So these are the trends that I can identify.
Thank you very much, Professor Ram, for highlighting how machine learning and AI contribute to modern social sciences. Now let us move to next question, and I want to address it to Dr. D.K. Yadav. That, as in India we have taken the approach of multidisciplinary research, and it is of my personal opinion that researchers are getting confused that how to make multidisciplinary research and what are the latest trends in social science research and what are its challenges. If you can share some views through their social science research analytics. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, yeah, Firdous. I think this is a very relevant question. Actually, the
Yes, sir. We are unable to hear you.
research in field.
So your voice is
Yeah, audible.
yes, sir. In between, your voice is not coming. Please go ahead,
Okay,
sir.
okay. So I agree with you that this research in field of social science is very challenging, and it's challenging. It's as a student of economics, we are part of this social science field, but many a times I feel that we are more close to the science subjects than the social science. Why is it so? That because when I see these economic characteristics, most of the economic characteristics are measurable in nature, while we see the other social science characteristics, those are related with human behavior. Then we observe that most of them are qualitative in nature, but the characteristics which we deal in economics are measurable in nature. That's why we are more close to the field of science than the social science. And this dealing this qualitative characteristic is very difficult. Dealing the qualitative, the way qualitative characteristics are affecting to the quantitative characteristic, that's the I think the very tough point, key how we can measure the impact of qualitative characteristics on the quantitative characteristics. Particularly if we see the Indian society, in Indian context, qualitative characteristics are dominating over quantitative characteristics, like this politics, uh, social issues, cultural issues, religious issues. They are influencing in a very large scale. If we see this, the policies of the current government, they are emphasizing in large scale to, non this quantitative characteristics like religion, culture, social factors. And in India, not in the current regime, since independence, politics is deciding everything, every field. That's why you have, you have rightly said that, today's time is of multidisciplinary research. If we actually want to understand the changes which are taking place in the economic characteristics or characteristic in which you are interested, you have to take a multidimensional approach. Until unless you are not understanding what is going on in the politics, what is going on in the society, what is going on in uh, other non-economic aspects, you could not interpret the economic characteristic, because economic characteristic in large extent are affected by non-economic characteristics. So I think and another very important aspect which I'll suggest that nowadays, if you want to, see the research in the social science field is very challenging. And if you are not developing a proper method for capturing the change which are taking place in the social science characteristics, you will not able to interpret. in the social science, you could give any argument, it's your choice. But until unless it is not substantiated by any particular method, any particular model, it's not going to be accepted by the peer group of academia. And in that context, I'll suggest that we should emphasize more on the behavioral aspect of analysis, behavioral aspects model, because any aspect of the social science research related to human behavior. So I suggest that this behavioral approach of analysis is very relevant in the present context, as well as as a researcher we should also try to develop controlled experiment kind of method for assessing the impact or assessing the changes which are taking place in the social science characteristics. And as a researcher, these are very challenging as well as very interesting aspect to explore. Every issue, every problem have its unique nature. So until unless we'll not understanding the characteristic in proper way, will not able to interpret the changes which are taking place in the characteristics. So I'll suggest the field of social science research is very dynamic, and due to these technological innovations, technology is very large extent affecting to the human behavior, and it is changing very fast. This technology is changing very fast, and this is also changing human behavior in very fast speed. So I think this is a very challenging time to capture the changes which are taking place in the social science characteristic. And until unless we'll not able to capture and interpret the changes which are taking place in the social science characteristics, I think the policy making will be very difficult. As a researcher, it is our responsibility to interpret the changes which are taking place in social science characteristics, and then only will able to help the policymaker in this direction. I think this is what I can suggest, and I think on this particular question which we have raised, Dr. Firdous.
Thank you very much, sir. Before moving to next session of discussion, let me quote Professor John Dewey. John Dewey once said, "Every great advance in science has issued from a new audacity of imagination." Now let's again, quote Karl Popper. Karl Popper once said, "A good technology ensures that research is not a random voyage, but a structured journey towards truth." That truth is missing while technology is evolving. We are playing with the data, and ethical considerations are not, followed. Which rightly Professor D.K. Yadav suggested that technology is evolving, but it is impacting our behaviors also negatively. Therefore, as a researchers, we should follow the right path. Now let us move to the next session, where we will be discussing important segments of research writing, publishing, and ethical considerations. I want to address one question, important question to Professor Ram. What are the key elements of a strong introduction and conclusion in research paper? And how can researchers choose the right journal for publication? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Now, with regard to introduction, what I can tell you is it is a learning experience for us also. The basic difference between the say non-Scopus or non-Web of Science journal and other journals is that you require to write a proper introduction, without which your paper is prone to be desk rejected.
So
Now,
try to be near to the screen because you are
now, Now, disk rejection happens when you are not placing the problem properly in the introduction session, and you have to give at least a passing reference to the extant literature there. That is, you need to give a very brief mentioning of the important studies that have taken place, and then briefly discuss in a few lines. You need to, mention the kind of study that you are going to make, the stages in your study, just 2, 3 lines. That has to be there, and obviously, you need to in the last you need to give you at least state what are the sections of your paper. So this is how normally the introduction is framed, and any budding researcher can understand this, provided he or she has the habit of reading good journal articles, and then think about the what they have done. But you have to understand that your context is different, so you have to design accordingly. There cannot be any structured method. It is not possible. I have seen many who have scored good marks in university exam, but you have to understand that that is something different. And when you are becoming a researcher, you require some additional attributes. That is, you have to handle unstructured things. And if you are unable to handle unstructured things, then you will face trouble in different spheres of, teaching, learning, and other areas also. Nowadays, accreditation is also important, and there are many things you will have to handle. And in many cases, apart from research, you have to deal with unstructured things, and you have to create a proper structure for analyzing the same. That is very important. So you have to, create a structure for analyzing. You have to fix some standpoints against which you can study this, the whole thing. So this is with regard to introduction. And with regard to conclusion section, I have already stated that. Can briefly state the results, at least the insights that you are getting from your study, not mere scores or not mere, say, regression score coefficients. That is not meaningful, because you have to understand that the whole thing of statistical learning or machine learning that have come place, that has gained prominence because the leading researchers. I've studied the articles by leading statisticians also. I'm especially the biostatisticians in Princeton University, who have developed a lot of things. Their objective is to go for predictive modeling, and it need not quantify. You need not be obsessed about correlation coefficients, because there are methods in which are coming, which will not provide you any coefficient, and yet you have to use that and interpret whole things. Interpretation is very important. So that is one thing. And secondly, what is required is you need to emphasize how your study is different from the extant literature. That is, and how it compares with previous studies. It may be different. It may be giving you different results. Now you need to justify why your results are different. It may be due to the presence of some contextual variables, or say influential variables. There might be some moderating role of some variables. That is one aspect. And secondly, Obviously, context may be different because as Professor Malik was referring to this point rightly, or Professor Yadav also pointed out that specifically, that is, in social science, we do not have the advantage of controlled experiment. In case of, say, physical sciences, you can say a pressure, temperature, volume relationship. You take one of them constant and you carry out experiment in a laboratory and under controlled atmosphere, it will give you same result everywhere, whether you carry out it in India or in Paris. But this is not possible in social sciences, including economics, because the environment cannot be controlled. That is a basic difference, and this characteristics is common with regard to economics and other fields of social science, and probably in case of in other fields, not those who are not belonging to economics, their thing is that the qualitative nature of the variables are more important, and obviously the influence, such influence which cannot be captured quantitatively, that is also very important. So this is the difference between economics and other social sciences. So this way you have to proceed.
So thank you very much, Professor Ram. As Professor Ram was rightly discussing about that how we can frame a strong introduction and try to match it with the conclusion. So it has been found and observed that researchers who are at the beginning level or some experienced researchers, they are misinterpreting the structure of research paper. So in introduction there should be neat and clean argument what this study is all about. There should be research objective which will highlight importance of your study. There should be research question and hypothesis. So let us move to next question where I want to address Professor Yadav. What are the common ethical issues in social science research and how can they be addressed? How can researchers avoid the issues or problems, we can say problems of plagiarism, and ensure originality in their work? Over to you, Professor Yadav.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nowadays, I think Firdaus, this is a very challenging issue, and each one of us is facing this particular issue because nowadays, the way this access of internet and online resources are increasing, then this issue of this uh, plagiarism and this unethical practices are also emerging. And I personally know several person who are using unethical practices. You know, uh, yeah, you see, taking idea from any particular research paper is not bad thing. Actually, research actually uh, begin in this way. In field of economics, we know that every work give scope to further work, and the idea propagated by someone helps us to further investigate the issues which are left in the idea which was propagated by someone. Like in field of economics, there was this cardinal approach, criticizing cardinal approach, to come to the ordinal approach to revealed preference theory, and similar kind of development is there. Microeconomics, there were classicals to Keynesian, then to neoclassical, to neo-Keynesian, to monetarist. So these are different school of thought. They have emerged from one to another, and I think in the similar way we can take the idea of someone, and taking the idea of someone, we can develop our own idea. We can develop our own paper, and I think that's that in that way the research should proceed. But what is going on nowadays, people are just this just using the idea of someone and publishing it by their own. That's not a good practice, and that's very much unethical. I personally faced this problem that my paper was published by someone else, and they are taking the credit. Uh, but I think that's not ethical, and we should be very strict. As in academia, we should be very strict. We have to restrain this kind of practices which is going on. Publishing 10 papers, 15 papers, 20 papers in a year is not a good idea. You just publish one paper or two paper, but there should be something new, and there should be some your original contribution. What people are doing, what they are doing, just they have done some work and then taking some part from here, some part from there, and developing new paper and publishing somewhere. That's not a good idea. And if you are taking idea of someone in your paper, I think giving proper proper reference, giving proper weightage to that particular person, if you are doing this kind of practice, then I think that's a good practice, and we should do in that way. And nowadays there are several softwares those help us in checking the plagiarism, and but I also observed that people are also managing those softwares the way they are managing. I think they are very smart how they are doing these things. But until unless these ethical issues, we have to be honest our own. If we are not honest, then any software, any technique is not going to, human mind is a very dangerous kind of thing. So we should the solution of this problem of plagiarism and this unethical practices is teaching the people. As a researcher, we should be very honest, and we should promote this idea that we must be honest, and we should give due weightage, due credit to the person from whom we are taking the idea. And the idea which we are using for developing our own paper, our own idea, our own theory, our own concept. So for that, we have to give due credit to the person, and that's the way how literature develop. That's the way how this any particular domains develop, and we should promote this idea, and we should control this kind of unethical practices by uh, uh, by teaching to the community, that this research community, that we need to be honest, and until unless honest practices will not be there, domain will not develop. You can see nowadays several books, several research papers are coming up and being published. Nowadays thousands and lakhs of journals are there, but in real sense there is not any substantive development in the domain, any domain. Particularly, what is our contribution in stock of knowledge? Though we are publishing a lot, we have thousands of journals are there, but we are not able to contribute in the existing stock of knowledge. So the biggest reason is these unethical practices being practiced by the academician in our country, and this is a very serious issue, and we should try to control these kind of practices in our academics and the society. Yeah, Firdaus.
Okay, thank you. Rightly said, sir. Let me add some observations, as I am also editor of few books. Recently, one of my project is going on where I have received almost 110 papers, in which with one observation I have to reject 60 papers. Desk rejection of 60 papers. They were full of malpractice, lot of plagiarism, content was copy paste from chat GPT and other AI tools. So and there is one more bad strategy following by researchers who are trending, evolving, try to have a strategy to have more research papers. They believe in count. So they are coming a group of 7, 8 papers people and writing one paper together as co-authors. So then I was thinking what contribution they have done. 8 people are writing paper of 15 pages and there is nothing new in that. So again, these are very serious issues. So for the contribution of scientific research, that is why research day by day is one side diminishing. It's having not any significant contribution, but on the other side, right papers are going on, right literature is developing. Therefore, we have to choose the right approach to prove ourselves. It is not just like Professor Yadav was you know rightly highlighting that we should come with a significant contribution to the science and research that can be done by publishing one paper in a year or one paper in a 6 month. If you try to fight a game and try to float yourself, so in the end, because all these data, all these publications nowadays, they are available in the domain. After 4 or 5 years you will hate yourself what you have contributed. So don't give up, work hard and try to balance your and try to you know be with the moral values. You have to think about your moral values. If you are not you know using your moral values, then definitely you will end up with bad things. So let us moving to next session. Before moving to next session, I want to I want to quote Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein once said, "Education is not the learning of the facts, but the training of the mind to think." The second part I want to again speak for you all, that but the training of the mind to think. So what to think? Right think. Talk about right things, right approach of research. So let me quote Professor Perry. He is saying a researcher without a methodology is like a sailor without a compass. So we have to always follow the right approach in a research. So let us move into next session, which is with the theme of future directions in research. I want to address Professor Ram. What skills should future social science researchers focus on developing? How can interdisciplinary approach enhance research in social sciences? Over to you, sir. You are mute, sir. Hello, sir. Are you with us, Professor Ram?
Yes. I muted myself. That is the problem.
Yes,
And
yes.
now
Please go ahead.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, yes, sir. Please be near the screen, sir, because once you are discussing and going out of the screen, so it will your image is going off. Yes, yes, that is right.
Now the thing is that apart from having some skill set, the primary thing that one requires is domain knowledge. That is, suppose you are working on the banking sector about certain things. Now, first you need to study extensively about the banking sector. That is one thing. And secondly, for then you have to set research questions. And in order to address the research questions, you require some quantitative techniques. Now, with regard to quantitative techniques, many of the menu-driven softwares are very costly to buy. Even in Europe or US, not many researchers can access them. And second thing is that if we have to compete with other countries, developed countries, we must focus on giving a good background of different mathematical programming techniques as well as hardcore statistics techniques. Just to give you some example, there are many free things which can be accessed provided you know how to handle them. One platform, we are regularly using R for our analytical purpose. The reason is that there are many things which Stata cannot handle, leave alone Gretel. But in R, you can handle many things, but you have to master R. So this is the primary requirement. And upcoming things are coming in Julia. So Julia is a very important platform which can be extensively used for serving your research. I mean, fulfilling your research query. So that is very important. And another area where, since I belong to economics, I can give you some example. That is, stochastic modeling is very important. So, and you need to master machine learning, at least some of the methods, like support vector machine, like random forest, and tree analysis, very important. So these are some of the tools which are having greater popularity nowadays, and they can have a lot of applications in fulfilling research queries. Without their knowledge, you cannot handle many things. This is one area. And I think there is another point you have raised, that is, I mean, interdisciplinary approach, I think.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I just give a personal example. Since 2021, I started working on the managerial ability of farms. It is not that this topic was not there. This topic was already in existence because Demirigian, Baruch Lev, and Sarah McVeigh, they introduced a very important paper, a series of papers in 2012 to 19. And prior to that, in Journal of Strategic Management, there are important contributions. When this I took up on the insistence of Professor Rajiv Bankar, is a very famous person of Philadelphia University, and he is no more with us. But when I started working on this, I understood that quickly, because I was already mature enough that for doing any novel contribution, I need to extensively study about strategic management. But I also did MBA while I was a student. So that was an advantage for me, but that knowledge was nothing. Because literature has grown manifold, and in university degree courses, unless they are PhD courses, one has to study very little compared to what is evolving. So that is why first thing that I had to do is that if I want to add something meaningful, I need to study extensively about strategic management, extant literature, and then also the methodology or the economic approach, because economic approach tries to identify certain variables like labor, capital, etc. But fails to, it is more or less silent about the unobserved variable, number one. And secondly, there is another thing that has come in industrial organization, that is known as principal agent problem. So how these things can be integrated in the context of managerial ability evaluation. So we try to combined as a team, several people, and we try to already there are extant literatures on this series. We try to provide some additional insight in the topic. So this is one particular example. There can be numerous other examples where we have to, say, suppose we are taking a basically social topic, maybe more connected with sociology or other fields, but we try to quantify things or provide some structured analysis with regard to that. So for that, we have to combine quantitative tools with qualitative analysis, and we have to go through several disciplines for delivering some meaningful research. So this way it can be done, but obviously things vary from one case to another because there are numerous research topics, and there is so you cannot count them actually. So accordingly, we have to decide.
So thank you very much. Now let us, address last question of our panel discussion to Professor Yadav. Sir, how can social science scientists adapt to evolving ethical standards? Right. In the last question, you have put it some light, but I want to add one more point and how how they can manage the data privacy concerns. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I think that this is the issue which is very close to my concerns, and how we can the social scientist adopt this evolving standards, ethical standards, and this the issue which you have raised, the privacy concern. Actually, I feel that this is the very high time to link each discipline, the research of each discipline, to the problem and issues of ground level. See what is happening in this. As far in case of this social science research, I'd like to give one example. What is going on in the society and what the researchers are doing. If you compare these two aspects, I think there is a huge gap. The problem of society is not being studied by the researchers of the social science field. Similarly, if you see as example given by the Professor Ram, ki what are going in the firms, what is going on in the industry, and what is the research being done by the people who are working in the management science, working in the industrial science. I think there is a huge gap, and if we want to control these unethical practices in the field of research, academic research, we have to fill this gap. We have to link the academic research to the uh, problems of the industry, to the problems of the society. If we'll reduce this gap. See, I somewhere else I have given this example. If we take the example of medical science, what they are studying, what they are the area in which they are doing the research, and the domain in which they are teaching, and their practices. If you see, there is a direct use. Whatever they are researching new is directly being used in the medical science, or whatever they are teaching to their students, they are directly using in solving the problems of this, health related issues. Can we do the similar thing in the field of social science? If we are doing any research in field of social science, whether it is going to help the problem of the society, the issues, the problem which our society is facing, if you are doing any research in field of management science, is it going to help the managers of the firms? If you are studying the problem of our economy, is it going to help the policy makers of our economy? If it is not going to help, it's not any meaning. So what I'll suggest, there should be some method, there should be some initiative in this direction, that we should develop some mechanism through which we could we could propose certain issues of research, and researchers should take those issues for their research. I think that the people who are in the field, who are making the policy, in case of these government policies, many a time I have observed that the officers are facing several problems in their implementational aspect of the policies. But the problems which they are facing in the implementation, no one is trying to explore those problems and study those issues. So I think that if we in future, if we could develop certain mechanism through which we assess the performance of any researcher who could solve the problem of the the problem of the we could assess their research on the parameters where their research is going to help the problem of the society, or the problem of industry, or the problem of the economy. I think we should think in that direction. And I think, as a new researcher, most of the researchers who are joining this program, I think they are new in this field. So senior researcher also should try to help them by propagating certain issues, certain problems which are relevant to be studied. And this may be a new area where we could suggest that these are the issues which need to be studied for solving the problem of society, economy, industry, or these kind of things. I think if we could shift our research in this way in future, it will help us in this solving the problem of this unethical standard, because publishing is not anything which is going to help the society, or it is going to the change the society, or it is going to help the policy maker. So I think it will helpful only and only when you could suggest certain mechanism, that if you adopt this kind of mechanism, it will help to solve the problem. So I think that these are some suggestions from my side, and I think in this way. So this is what I can suggest. Yeah, Dr. Firdous.
Thank you very much, sir. This was the last question of our discussion. Now I would open the discussion for the participants. If they are having any question, they can raise their hand and they can ask the question directly. So participants, it is your time now. If you are having questions, please share. We can take quickly 5 or 6 questions. Then our panelists, they have to leave. We will continue our session, but our panelists, we will, as they are with us since long. So if you are having any questions to our panelists, kindly address quickly so that we can have vote of thanks formally. Then we will be staying with us. We will be having feedback. We'll be having vote of thanks from all the associations. So for our panelists.
For those, may I ask?
Yes, please go ahead, Dr. Jaskar.
Yes. Yeah, my question to Professor Yadav. Professor Yadav, when we assume that economics is more close to science because most of the economic variables are uh, quantify. We can quantify the economic variables. But do you not think that we are being a social scientist, the people who are doing social sciences, and we are assuming that economics is also a social science, not as like natural sciences, that it is divorcing the social scientist from the real issues. Like when we can't measure all the aspects of life in in quantitative terms, like this is a kind of neoclassical notions that everything can be measured in cause and effect. But in society, in real terms, like we have to analyze the superstructure also, where society, polity, culture, religions, and there are many things which cannot be quantified into numbers. That if you would like to comment on this, thank you.
Yeah. I appreciate. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You have raised very relevant issues. Uh, I think there is a one very popular phrase that theory without measurement and measurement without theory is useless. So I think that even in field in other social science field like sociology, even in case of history, recently I came to know that history people are using these econometric methods. I think, you see, until unless you could not measure the characteristics, you will not able to justify the things which you are arguing, the concept which you are arguing. Luckily, in field of economics, most of the characteristics which we deal with are measurable in the nature. It is the advantage of the economics, and that's why I think people are now accepting this particular fact, and different academic institutions are giving degree of MSc in economics.
Yes.
That is a kind of support that economics is more close to the field of science. I agree with you that we could not change the nature of subject, nature of domain. This economics, in the field of economics, we study the economic behavior, and that is the part of human behavior. I do agree with you that this economic behavior also affects by so many other social science dimensions, social science characteristics, like the society affects, religion affects, and many a times these characteristics very difficult to measure. But I think we should try to make effort in this direction, ki how we could measure those characteristics, how we could quantify those characteristics, so that then only we will argue something better, without measurement, without quantification. And that's why nowadays this qualitative techniques are developing, qualitative measurement techniques are coming up, and special softwares are coming up. I think that this is a good development in this direction. We should think in that way, that how we could quantify the characteristics. Through quantify only we could accept or reject any particular hypothesis, any particular assumptions which have been floated. Nowadays, as in field of politics, this is the time of narrative. You could if you could succeed to convince the people that this is correct, this is what is going on, what is true, then you are successful. So I think this narrative aspect is harming a lot to the society, and for countering this narrative concept, measurement is the only solution. and we should actually tell frankly that this kind of statement given by someone is correct or not through this measurement, this quantification aspect. I think that yes, I agree with you that this is very challenging task, but we should make effort in this direction. And I think that economics is a very good example for other field of social science, ki how we are using quantitative techniques for capturing these qualitative problems. Yeah, what I could respond to your question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I would like to address one question which is there in chat to Professor Ram. So this question is raised by Nisha. She is asking how important is cover letter and what role it plays in acceptance and rejection of a paper, how it should be framed.
I can only tell you from my personal experience. I'm not very good in writing cover letters. I do not have the patience also. And in most of my papers are single authored papers. So for the remaining, most of the remaining papers, I remained as the corresponding author. Now, I have written only two lines, not more than that. Whereas others spend a lot of time writing a good cover letter. But what is my personal experience is that it is immaterial. Because nowadays everything is having an online submission platform. You are using online submission platform. So that is not a very big issue regarding acceptance or rejection. Ultimately, the quality of your paper that will count.
So now let me take advantage to reply her. It depends upon the journal. That if journal is demanding for cover letter, then definitely you have to frame it. Cover letter simply, assures that you are certifying that this paper is your original work. So you have to write down that. You have to address the editor. Who is the editor? Right? Just like we are writing letter to for our leave in our department, or we use it to write the application at our school level. So you have to address it in same way to the editor and mention that we are submitting our paper to your journal. This is original research work. That is it. So if any journal is demanding cover letter, then you have to follow the guidelines of the submission. So now let us move to next question. There is one raise and by Nasreen Bukhari. Please unmute yourself. You can ask the question directly. Please go ahead. Nasreen Bukhari, are you with us?
Assalamu alaikum, sir. I'm here. Thank you
Walaikum
for
salam,
giving me
please.
the chance. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak. And first of all, I want to thank you for the organization for conducting such a good opportunity for the new researchers to learn new skills and technology. And so my question is, there must be some rules for the number of papers writing or working on a topic. There are no rules for this, and we see that there are a lot of people who actually do not contribute in the work. They just pay to the researcher and put their name in the publication to enhance their the profile. So kindly explain and suggest some practical steps to control this thing, please.
So yeah, it is actually one of the questions you are raising has been already addressed by Professor Yadav about research ethics and how should we go. Meanwhile, I have also put it some light. Let us give opportunity to Professor Yadav to address this question. Are you with us, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think we have discussed this issue in detail, but I'll like to highlight those points that publishing number of papers is not relevant. What you are contributing new ideas, what is your original contribution, that is important. And I think by putting your name or copying, pasting something, it's not going to help you. And I think that for controlling these kind of practices, the question which has been asked, I think that this is a very personal kind of thing. This is an ethical issues. Until unless we will not realize that this kind of practices are not good practice, and we should not do this kind of, it's like taking bribe kind of thing. So until unless you will not be honest, you will not be realized that these kind of practices is not going to help the academia, are not going to help me in the long run. So I think you will continue to do these kind of things. And I think that what at institutional level, what we can do, that as I have suggested, that if we could develop some mechanism where the credit should be given in the way that in which extent your research, your paper is helping in solving the problem of society, or helping in solving the problem of economy, or helping the in solving the problem of industry. If your research is helping in that direction, like I have given the example of medical science, that is very dynamic field. If you are developing any new technique for any particular treatment, it is directly going to help the patients, and a lot of people are going to be benefited by those methods, those techniques. If similar kind of practice, in field of economics, there are several problems which our society is facing at household level, at micro level. Unfortunately, those problems are not being studied in academic, in the field, by the researchers. So I think this is very high time to discuss on these issues and try to explore some mechanism, how we can develop some better research practices, these kind of practices where we are publishing papers for API, or publishing books for API. I think that is not going to help the academia in the long run. And I think the points which we have discussed, we should continue to discuss on these issues. In future, we could develop some mechanism through which we can solve this problem. Yeah.
So if there is any more questions, please, kindly write quickly so that.
Hello, Dr. Firdous. I have one question. Good evening to all the panelists. I have a question, like today being in research publications like a rat race these days. So earlier the main motive was public policy making and impact on public policy via research analysis and all. But nowadays, how much significant impact or effect is of research publications or the novelty of research is on the public policy of any economy? I just want some of notes on this, please.
So let us give opportunity to Professor Ram, as I think we have discussed it in our discussion, that counting papers or making APC hardly gives any weightage in the field of research which contributes to the scientific knowledge, as sir was rightly assuring us that unless and until our research is not helpful for society, community, country, or family, so it is useless. So now let's take some insights from Professor Ram about it.
This is a very good question. Actually, it's not that policy applications with the papers, I mean, research studies with important policy applications are not taking place. But they are taking place in a handful of institutions like Indian School of Business, Then some people with Niti Aayog, they are also doing. And I mean, there are some good in good institutions. These are happening in IGIDR, but it should grow. There are several. I mean, their importance cannot be undermined. Ultimately, research has no societal meaning unless you can have this policy applications. As I was telling earlier also that I am a researcher in the field of data envelopment analysis, but lot of applications are taking place in the field of regulation. But in India, there you cannot find too many papers or too many studies. Why? Number one is that we do not have access to the data. That is one minimum requirement. And secondly, the lack of knowledge of the related methodology, that is also very important. So these are some of the issues which are making us deficient in the applications. Yet there is strong potential for having public policy applications. And another thing is that whether it is corporate application or public policy application, the bureaucrats or the government people, they have to have a mindset oriented towards application of academics. They feel that academics is not having proper utility in the administration or like that. But this way, both are losing. Both sides we are losing. This much I can tell.
So thank you very much,
Okay, sir. Thank you,
Professor.
sir.
So let us take last question because our panelists will leave. Then we will continue our session as we are having many things to share with you. So because we cannot keep our panelists to stay such long, I will give you opportunity if anybody is having any question, kindly ask before I will give formal vote of thanks. Anybody is having any question? So no. So let me give vote of thanks for this panel discussion. But stay with us. So it was one of the interesting events we are having, and I think as per my personal experience is concerned, this is the first ever panel discussion I have seen in a research methodology workshop. So on behalf of Vivekananda Global University, All India Institute of Universities, Jindal Center for Global South, Jammu and Kashmir Economic Association, the Cafe Economics. It is my privilege to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to our esteemed panelists to their insightful contributions for today's discussion. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Professor Ram for sharing his valuable expertise on research ethics, AI, social science research issues and challenges. Your perspectives have truly enriched us to understand the essentials of research. I would also like to give special thanks to Professor D.K. Yadav for providing a thought-provoking insight and shedding light on specific topics of research methodology which we have today. Your contributions have added a great value to our discourse. We are also immensely grateful to all the participants for patiently listening to the discussion and actively participating in this discussion. So your words have been inspiring and enlightening us today. So our sincere appreciation also goes to all the moderators from the day one, all the resource persons, all the organizing team, research directors who engaged with us for organizing such a productive workshop. So participants who have also made this panel discussion a success. Without them, nothing can be possible. So your active engagement and thought-provoking questions have made this session truly dynamic. So finally, to our wonderful audiences, thank you for your time and enthusiasm. The questions you have asked, your participation has made this event meaningful and impactful. Once again, a big thank you to everyone. We look forward for more such engaging discussions in future. So I request our panelists once again, thank you for accepting our this invitation. So now let us take one group photo with our panelists before they leave the session. But we are having much more events coming up, so stay with us. So I request all the participants to open your camera. Let us have a group photo. Only those participants who are in a good position. People who are sleeping on beds, please don't open your camera. Else I am having the option to close your camera. So please on your camera. So one screen is ready. Just wait, be ready. I am capturing the photo. One. So thank you very much for opening your cameras. Now I suggest our panelists they can leave us now. So we are hopeful that in future we will having more opportunities to interact with you.
Thank you, Professor Malik, for giving us the opportunity. And thanks are also due to the participants who have patiently heard us. So I'm leaving now. Okay.
Okay.